myself here. Good morning. Thank you for being here. We're doing another live today, and we've been talking about the last few weeks 8 ways, 8 solutions to beat procrastination. But in all honesty, there's been way more than 8 solutions. It's more like 8 different things that are reasons why we procrastinate, but I've been coming up with multiple solutions for each one. So if you find yourself in that place where you're feeling like, I just am not doing the things that I want to do, the things that I feel like I should do, the things that I need to do, then I would encourage you to watch the other 3, part 1, part 2, and part 3 of 8 solutions to beat procrastination, which you can find on my YouTube channel under the live streams. So we're here again. We go live every Saturday. My goal is to help you see yourself the way God sees you so that you have the courage and the confidence to reach your dreams, to even feel like you can go after them. Because how many times do we talk ourselves out of doing the things that we know we need to do, the things that will move us ahead, the things that will bring us success, because we're all caught up in the reasons why we can't. So the last few weeks we have gone through, how to burst through that fear, the fear that keeps you from, doing the things you need to do. We burst through fear and gave solutions to that. Uncertainty, like you don't know what you need to do, that lack of clarity that sometimes stops you from doing the things you need to do. We came up with solutions on what to do when you feel overwhelmed. Like maybe you know what there is to do to reach your dream and you're like, oh my gosh, this is way too much. There's no way that I can do all of this. So we found solutions to the overwhelm. We also went through and talked about what are some solutions you could do if the thing that you need to do is unpleasant, like you don't like it. It's something you need to do and you're like, I don't like doing this. So you procrastinate and you put it off. I came up with several solutions to give you guys on that. So if any of those are ones that you are struggling with, then the first 3 videos, part 1, 2, and 3, are going to be great for you to take a look at. So we're delving into number 5. Number 5 out of 8 things that come up for us that make us procrastinate. And that is simply when a task or something you need to do is uncomfortable. You feel discomfort in having to do that thing. So let's talk about that, because a lot of us, we don't necessarily can't put our finger on, like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing it? How come I can't seem to get into doing this? And it could be an uncomfortable task. So when you have an intolerance for discomfort, it leads you to pull away from it and to want to do basically everything but that task, to avoid it at all costs. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this. I had not heard of this. Rebd theory. Rebd theory? See, I don't even know how to say it. It's 3 letters. Maybe it's pronounced REBT theory. It's a tongue twister. So here's what it is. REBT theory, not therapy, teaches you that procrastination can often stem from we are having this belief that something that causes discomfort should be avoided. So if something is uncomfortable for you, you kind of believe like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. This is one of the reasons that many of us procrastinate on what we need to do. And we do that whenever whenever you feel either physically or psychologically that something is going to be uncomfortable. So that's this whole discomfort thing. It's almost like, like an innate protection mechanism, like something that's in us that we want to find comfort and we want to stay safe. So we avoid certain things, right? Like even though we're not in the Stone Age, we're not like having to chase down lions, most of us, or they're not chasing us. We still have this like protection mechanism that wants to keep us safe, even when the things are not going to cause us any real harm. So if this is new to you, let me tell you what REBT theory is. So it stands for rational emotive behavior therapy. Can you tell I've got some issues today? So rational emotive behavior therapy. What this is it's a form of psychotherapy that helps you identify these self-defeating thoughts and these feelings that challenge the nature of irrational and unproductive feelings. You see, it's not a real fear. It's it's irrational and it's unproductive feelings. So these aren't good for you. So this is good to challenge. Now, when I talk about discomfort, I don't mean things that are they're so extremely painful, they're not good for you. It could be harmful to your health. Now, this is talking about um, irrational and unproductive feelings. So I'm not gonna, when I give you these solutions to how to deal with discomfort, I don't mean that you're supposed to let your friends roll over you with a car. Okay. That was a wild example. You know, that's not the discomfort type of thing that we're saying I want to give you solutions for. We're not going to do anything that's going to be actually harmful. What we're going to do is we're going to challenge irrational and unproductive feelings that stop you from accomplishing things that you may perceive as being uncomfortable. Okay. So the point of this is these irrational and unproductive feelings, what we're going to do, and what the point of this type of rational emotive behavior therapy, which I'm not one of the therapists, I'm just telling you this is a modality, and I'm going to show you how it showed up in my life. So maybe you can see how it shows up in your life and what you could maybe do on your own, or if you want to hunt down one of these type of therapists, by all means, get whatever help you need. But I want to create just kind of an understanding of, because sometimes you beat yourself up and you're like, why did I not do this? Why do I keep avoiding this? I've had this thing on my to-do list for 6 months, and here I just wasted the whole day scrolling on social media again, or watching something when I should have been taking action on this. So just stay tuned for a minute, because I think you're going to get something out of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace these irrational and unproductive feelings with healthier ones and more productive beliefs. Does that sound good? Do you want to actually finally start taking action on the things you need to do? Thank you, Angela, for the super sticker. I'm so grateful for you. I appreciate your generosity. Okay, so the REBT, this was devised by the psychologist Albert Ellis. This is not something all that new. This was developed in the mid 50s. So this is at least 70 years old. And it focuses mostly on the present time to help you understand how unhealthy thoughts and beliefs can create emotional duress, in which in turn leads to unhealthy actions and unhealthy behaviors that interfere with your life goals. How about a simple example like, do you think eating a kale salad is going to cause you discomfort? When it's actually, probably better for you than the flaming hot Cheetos. I mean, I'm just saying, right? So you don't want to have this belief causing this emotional duress when it comes time to do things that are beneficial for you or that will help you achieve your goals, right? You want to understand how these unhealthy thoughts are causing emotional distress and leading to unhealthy actions and behaviors that are interfering with your life goals. And you don't want that to happen. You don't want to get to the end of your life and be like, oh, I should have done this. I wish I would have done this, you know? So that's my goal here every week, is to have you be on purpose to live your purpose and to get rid of any sabotage you may be doing that's stopping you from living your goals and reaching them, right? So once you identify these and you understand them, these negative thoughts and actions can be changed and they can be replaced with more positive ones. Princess Rachel says, some veggies taste disgusting. She's right. Some of them do. It's all in how you season them, right? Like I've been I've been on a salad kick lately. I could go weeks without having a salad. But I think once you find the right dressing, it makes salads so much more fun. So sometimes you just have to find the right seasoning for your veggies, right? So who has ever heard of the movie Mary Poppins? This reminds me of this. Um, she says a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. She sings a song. So if you have to take your medicine, sometimes a spoonful of sugar helps it go down. So it's the same like a good dressing on your salad, a good seasoning on your veggies, cooking them in a way that makes them yummy. How many of you have noticed that veggies at restaurants taste better than the veggies you make at home? I don't know what they do, but when I have like eggplant at Thai food and Chinese places, that tastes way better than when I try to make eggplant at home. When I make it at home, it's rubbery and disgusting, but something they do with these rest, they know what they're doing. So that's just a side note there. Okay. So let's get into how we can change and have more positive and productive behavior. That's going to help you develop, not only reach your goals, but develop a more successful life and personal relationships and professional relationships. So when I learned about this, when I started reading up on this theory, I realized I was thinking, what were the times in my life where I had a fear of discomfort? When was that fear of discomfort really apparent? And when was it really present in my life? And this is what came back to me. I had in my teens and in my early 20s, I had this irrational fear of being hungry or having the discomfort. We're talking about things not being comfortable, having this discomfort of an empty stomach. Now, of course, now I realize I'm not going to die if my stomach growls a couple of times. But back then, that was the kind of behavior that would cause me to act irrationally. Like, I remember having a cupboard in my bedroom that was full of treats, and I had a padlock and a lock on it so my brother couldn't steal my candy and my treats and my little Debbie's and my my junk food. I had a junk food cupboard in my room with a padlock on it so my brother couldn't steal it. Um, Crazy thing is, little did I know, the cupboard I had it in, it had a drawer on top. Never occurred to I couldn't figure out why my snacks kept disappearing, even though I had a lock on the cupboard. I didn't realize he could pull the drawer out, reach his hand down in under, and pull my treats out. I thought I had them locked. Man, I had to do a lot to get to try to keep my brother out of my stuff, but that's a whole nother story. But I had this irrational fear of being hungry, and that behavior used to run me. This is long before I knew there was such a thing as the REBT theory. So, just a couple of solutions I did to help me break through that irrational fear of an empty stomach. So, one thing I did is I went to an Overeaters Anonymous meeting. Another thing I did is I prayed about it, and I read a book on the topic. So I read a book on being hungry and what it all means. And some of the things I got out of that realization was that if my stomach growls a couple of times, that doesn't actually mean I'm starving, right? The truth is I'm not actually physically starving. It's just that my stomach, or my, as my mom says, my mom's a nurse, she's like, it's not your stomach that growls, it's your intestines. So maybe my intestines were just currently empty, right? Research shows on various different medical websites there was a range it showed between some I saw between 10 days and up to 2 or 3 months. We could actually go without food if we had to. If it was a, you know, situation where there was no other choice, we could live on water for 10 days or even up to 2 or 3 months. There's actually a guy, he was morbidly obese. I think he was well over 400 pounds. And he's in the Guinness Book of World Records for going more than 300 days without food. I do not recommend that to anyone. That was a medically supervised fast for someone who was grossly morbidly obese. So it's not what I'm talking about here. Us, regular moderately sized people could only go between 10 days and 2 or 3 months as a grown adult. It's not recommended for kids. What is my point? My point is I had an irrational fear that I couldn't even let my stomach growl one time, which just meant that my stomach or my intestines were empty. So I had to realize I could live for a long time on the fat reserves I had, and that I didn't actually need a snack in between lunch and dinner, right? It wasn't going to kill me if I just had a glass of water in between lunch and dinner and I waited to my next meal, right? So now I can cut snacks between meals if I want to without freaking out, or always having to carry food with me as a backup, food in my car, food in my purse. Like I would do that because I was like, oh, I can't ever get hungry. That was just one of these, that was an irrational fear for me. So when it comes to finding things uncomfortable or not wanting to experience discomfort, I want to tell you a most recent example. Some of you guys might get a kick out of this. I don't know if you saw the episode of Dhar Mann where I was jumping on a trampoline at a trampoline park. It was a Jay and Mikey episode. Well, because I knew we were going to be filming at a trampoline park, I just wanted to make sure that, because I knew we would be jumping in the scene shooting. I didn't know for how long. I decided, well, I'm not going to work out that day. Of course, we're going to be jumping. That will be my workout. And I'm not going to exercise the day before or the day before that. I just basically didn't exercise all week just because I knew we were going to jump one day, which is really silly, right? Because I was like, well, I want to save my energy. You don't really save your energy. It's like I had this irrational fear that I would sometimes run out of energy and just be too weak to jump, which, if anyone knows me, I never run out of energy, and I don't need caffeine. Nana says irrational fears as to why we procrastinate and what we can do about it. Yes, that's one of the things we talked about. Yes, Nicola, that was the episode with Shantae. Raina Shantae. So I'm going to get to her in a second. So I wanted to save my energy. So, which is ridiculous. I don't know if you guys follow Brendan Burchard, but one of the things he says is a power plant doesn't have energy. It creates energy. So if I needed more energy, I could create more energy, right? I could take a rest when it was the kids' turn to shoot, or I could energize myself by switching my thoughts, or by having a snack, or by having some green tea. So I had this like, oh, I don't want to run out of energy. Well, I was shooting with my friend Raina Shantae that day. Welcome. Hello, everyone. I see you in Facebook and on YouTube. I was shooting with Raina Shantae, and she does not have this irrational fear or this behavior of worrying that she's not going to be able to move her body after shooting at a trampoline park. No, as a matter of fact, the day we shot and I did nothing physical except maybe drive there and get dressed, she came to the trampoline park having already done 3 workouts. I thought I misheard her at first. I was like, does she mean 3 minutes of a workout? Did she mean 30 minutes? Did she mean she did like 3 sit-ups? What does she mean 3 workouts? But no, she ran 30 minutes on the treadmill. She did her HIIT workout. That's like high intensity interval training with weights. And then she did like a 30-minute yoga class all before we came to go spend the day physically jumping. And I thought to myself, like, wow, when I got to be researching this REBT theory, I was like, she does not have that irrational fear of running out of energy. And most of the time she does it fasted. Like she doesn't even eat breakfast usually till late, like late, a lot later in the day. So I was thinking, wow. So that's I just thought that was a funny thing because we have these around. Are you guys seeing? Do you guys see smoke coming across the screen? Okay, I don't know if it's picking. I have my diffuser going, and I was like, does that look? I didn't know if you guys were picking up on that. I'm breathing in transformation. Something we all need, transformation. So I didn't know if the smoke was coming up looking funny. I wanted to let you know nothing is on fire. Okay. So I've seen the same behavior in myself at the gym when I'm working out with a group. They say you should push your muscles till complete failure, do as many reps as high, till you burn out. And I just never push myself like that because I don't want to be sore for 3 days afterwards. And so I don't do the heavier weights, or I don't want to push myself to muscle failure. And I worry that, I'm going to be sore, or I'm not going to be able to operate in full capacity for the rest of the workout. So I noticed this happened a couple of weeks ago when we were all sharing a machine. There was like 5 of us and we were waiting our turn. So while 4 of us are waiting for the machine, I'm just standing there. I'm just kind of standing there waiting for the machine, not doing anything, even though it's going to be like 4 or 5 minutes before it's my turn. I noticed 2 guys in my group were doing push-ups and squats and other exercises in between while waiting for the machine. And I was like, wow, they are really committed. Like, I just was standing there for several minutes waiting in between sets. And I saw another gal doing that too. Okay, so enough about the discomfort. Whatever it is for you, I hope my examples helped you think, what are some ways in my life that I am avoiding things that are uncomfortable and I know I need to get them done? And let's get into what the solutions are for this. Okay, solution number 1. We're going to call this the power of one more. That is based on Ed Milet's book. Okay, thank you. I see someone in the Facebook group saying it was helpful. Okay, good. I don't want to just ramble on if it's not helping you. Okay. So the power of one more, this concept was brought into my life recently when I read a book by Ed Milet called The Power of One More. And here's why this works for most people. 1 is easy, right? We go, 1 we can do. It's nothing huge. It's not me saying, got to run 26 miles. No. How about 1 mile? How about we just run 1 mile? Or if you can't run 10 blocks, how about just 1 block? So are you planning to do 20 squats? Well, what would happen if you just did 21? It's the power of 1, the power of 1 more. Maybe you're a telemarketer. Maybe your job is to make phone calls and your boss says you have to make 10 phone calls before lunch each day. And you're about to call 10 people before lunch. But what if you just called 11? What might happen if you just called 11? So many things that we deal with in life, when it comes to auditioning, when it comes to calling telemarketers, whatever, it's a numbers game. And if we can, I could do a whole series on rejection. If you guys think that would be helpful, type it in the chat. If you want me to do a live stream teaching on rejection, I know a lot about it after having probably close to 1,000 auditions and getting told no for probably 900 of them. I don't know. If you guys think it would be helpful for me to do a teaching on rejection, put it in the chat because I think a lot of us deal with it in unhealthy ways. But I digress. Okay, power of one more. It is a numbers game. And when you realize that, and this is something I would teach on that topic, is you really, the more you do, the more no's you get, the closer you are to a yes. Okay, so the closer you are to a yes, the more you do it. Lucas, yes, I am still acting in the Darman videos. I was in one on the bonus channel that came out yesterday, I think. So if you guys don't know, Darman now has 2 channels. The regular Darman channel, which is stories I think that are more having to do with issues that teens and middle school and young adults go through. The Dhar Mann bonus channel is more content for adult storylines, adult themes. So I was in one that came out, I think yesterday or the day before, where our daughter, where we have to come up with $1 million to save our daughter. That's the Dhar Mann bonus channel. So just so you know the difference between the two. Okay, so the power of one more. The thing is, we can always eke out one more. We can always eke out one more in life. So if at the end of the day I've submitted my headshots and resume to 35 different shows and movies, what if I just looked for one more to submit to, right? One more. I tried this recently at the gym, okay? Because you guys see I have an aversion to working out sometimes. So at the gym, I said, I'm just going to go on the stair machine for 10 minutes. That's it. I'm only going to do 10 minutes. And then I started thinking about, Ed Milet's book, The Power of One More. What if I just did 11 minutes? Then I'll hop off. And when 11 minutes came, I was kind of like, well, I don't want to end on an odd number like that. Maybe I should just do a better increment, like 15. That way I did a quarter of an hour and I can feel good about that. And then when I got to 15, I thought, well, if I just do one more, I'll have 16 minutes. And before I knew it, I spent 20 minutes on the stair machine when I really thought I could only do 10 minutes. I doubled my capacity just playing the game, The Power of One More. So speaking of games, solution number 2 to beat procrastination when it comes to discomfort is, when you find discomfort in doing certain things, what if you took that uncomfortable task and you gamified it? You gamified it. What if you made it fun somehow? Now, entire books have been written on the concept of gamification and what gamification is. So gamification it's like the application of typical elements that you would use in game playing, but you use it for other things. So you use it for other things like in work, in business, and other areas that you don't think of as a game. You can use it at workshops, when you're speaking, when you're trying to teach kids. This would be great if teachers actually used this in school, right? Like Princess Rachel saying, that's me, I hate doing math, it's not fun. So let's talk about gamifying it. So this is a great strategy. When you perceive something as being uncomfortable or causing you discomfort, ask yourself, what can I do to make this more like a game? Can you keep score? Can you make it like a competition with others? Think of athletes do this, right? Athletes do this all the time. They try to have rules that they play the game. They try to break records. They try to race another person. They try to get the finish line or the goal before the other person gets it. They try to block their opponents. So you could make up criteria or point scoring for a task that you don't like Princess Rachel hates math, right? She could do something to make up, how could she turn it into a game? How could she gamify it? Give herself points. I'm going to give you guys some more ideas. In the office, what if you had points? What if you got extra points if you're the first one to turn the report in? Or if you're the last one to turn the report in, what if you had to buy the office donuts if you're the last one to get it done? One of the things about gamification is it makes uncomfortable stuff exciting. It makes the hard stuff fun. And you can always make whatever uncomfortable task you're dealing with fun and motivating when you do that, when you put the gamification in. So I was watching this video by Dr. Zachary Fitzwalter, who actually has a PhD in gamification. And he was mentioning that in Sweden, they were trying to get the commuters to do less driving and to do more walking and to take the stairs instead of taking the escalators, because they wanted to encourage their people to exercise more. So they came up with this really fun and playful idea to get people to take the stairs instead of the elevator. And it just made taking the stairs so much more fun. So what they did is they turned the staircase into a giant working piano. They even painted the steps white and black like piano keys. And they found that by doing this, that 66% more people took the stairs over the escalator. I watched the video. They caught some people doing it, and the video showed that they were actually enjoying taking the stairs now. Some of them were having so much fun. They were walking up the stairs and down the stairs and up the stairs again, playfully, not like it was drudgery, because every time they took a step, it was like a piano key note would sound. So using this power of play really, really help motivate people. So that's just kind of like one of the elements of gamification that they use to do that. So gamification has taken a lot of cues from video games, which are very addicting, in large part due to how engaging they are. You've probably known people who could play video games for hours without getting bored. Maybe you yourself have done that at some point. So not only are video games fun, they also bring you a sense of accomplishment, and you feel really good about yourself when you beat that ogre, or you win the coins and you get the chest, or you get to that next level, and it gives you these dopamine hits. Well, so does accomplishing your goals and completing a task. So let's remember that when you're tempted to play video games instead of work on that task that you're avoiding. So when you take some things from this model, the model of gamifying in video games, when you apply that to tasks you're not thrilled about, you actually start to look forward to things that you once dreaded or you thought were boring. So this kind of thinking is something we must start to learn to do for ourselves to achieve more, so we don't have so many tasks hanging over our head. Maybe you're a manager of your household or a supervisor at work. If you put gamification into helping people around you who need that extra motivation, that could make a huge difference in the productivity of the people that you are managing. So gamification has also been going on a long time before video games too. So I mean, just think of like little girls selling Girl Scout cookies, right? Whoever sells the most cookies wins a trip. Her and her family win a trip somewhere. And these girls probably, a lot of them felt very uncomfortable, a lot of discomfort having to go to neighbors and ask them to buy, and selling their cookies. But when it turns it into a contest, it becomes much easier to step out of your comfort zone and do what you need to do. I mean, if there were no prize at the end, or this challenge like a game, who could sell the most, probably not many Girl Scout cookies would ever get sold. You know what I mean? We love them and we want to buy them, but yeah, sometimes you need a reward system. So let's talk about some real life scenarios. What can you do? What can you do to gamify your life in areas where you feel discomfort or you don't feel good about doing something? So maybe your kids have their dirty clothes sprawled out all over the floor in their room and they don't put them in the hamper, right? The laundry basket. Could you put like one of those mini basketball hoops over the hamper, and whenever they throw their socks in or underwear, it makes a sound as it goes through, like it makes a woo, a cheering sound? My son had one of those hoops, and they're pretty good about putting their clothes in the basket, so I don't need to do that for them. But there's other things that's just like one thing you could do. Have you noticed a lot of businesses nowadays use gamification? And what it does is it keeps you coming back. Now, they may call it loyalty points or loyalty rewards, but you're scoring points. And if you eat there instead of somewhere else, you're going to get points. And at the end, you're going to get a prize. So, like for instance, one of the places I frequent is Veggie Grill, and you earn points and you get prizes. Like I went there and I tried their new faux fake steak sandwich, and then I got like a strawberry whoopie pie as like my free gift for trying their new sandwich. I would never even order dessert, but I'm like, well, if I get this sandwich, I'm going to get this dessert for free. So it like inspires that, like you want to do it, even though you would have probably, like, I would have never ordered a whoopie pie. So So you get encouraged. I also have like loyalty points for Pieology. That's one of those build your own pizza places. It's great because they have, you know, you can get the gluten-free crust, vegan crust, you can get vegan cheese if you want, veggies, whatever. Well, you're encouraged to check the app on a lot of these games, and you earn stuff, like you earn a free salad or you earn a free drink, or when you get your own craft pizza. So yeah, so the whole earning points, it taps into that fact that everyone wants to win, everyone wants to get a prize, everyone wants something for free. Now, whether that's a race you're running or whether it's a board game you're playing, we all like to win. So here's a couple of ways you can gamify a task that you don't want to do. So here are some ways that you can also gamify what you're doing. Get out a timer. Set a timer. Now, we talked about using a timer in one of the other videos, but in a very different way. So this time we're going to use a timer like it's a contest, and like you're scoring points. So you use a timer, and let's say maybe you're doing this with your child or your husband, or even if with yourself. You set a timer for 2 minutes and you say, how many socks can I sort before the 2-minute timer goes off? Can I get 10 pairs sorted? And the next time you do laundry, you set that 2-minute timer. Maybe you can sort 11. Maybe you can find 11 matches for socks before the timer goes off. This is a great way to have kids engage more in the chores. And it becomes a contest, like who's the fastest, who can sort more pairs of socks, who can, it's like that game of memory where like, what are the matches? Now, another way you can gamify something, this is something I did with my older son when he had trouble being motivated at meal times. We had so much trouble getting him to eat that my husband would often turn eating time into a contest when my son wasn't wanting to eat. And this would help greatly. It became like, who's going to get to the finish line first and get him eating his food. Sometimes what my husband would do is he would pretend like he's an announcer, like those announcers that are talking about the races, horse races or car races. And he would put on his announcer voice, and, they would both have their food. If we could see he wasn't eating and wasn't wanting to do it, suddenly Dad would turn into, and the race has begun. This looks like it's going to be a close match between Timmy and Daddy. And at this point, no one can say who will win. Daddy has a bigger mouth, but it looks like Timmy has more determination to win. We could have this thing sealed up. He takes a bite and, oh, Daddy takes another bite. It looks like Daddy is in the lead, but with a look on his face, I don't think Timmy's going to let that happen. He bites again, and will Daddy catch up? Oh, Timmy is slowing down. Will Daddy overtake him and win the gold medal prize of the Golden Cookie Madeline? Right now, it's anyone's game. Go, go, go. Timmy has taken a hefty whack, and it looks like he's half done. Could he become the veggie burger champion? They're rounding the corner of their final bites, and Timmy's hot on his tail, but oh no, Timmy got the last bite in before Daddy. Daddy faces defeat yet again. The audience explodes and cheers and praise, and Timmy John is the champion. And then we would cheer, and we'd make a whole big production about it just to get him to eat. So gamifying, right? Gamifying even these simple tasks. Because when I didn't gamify it, I remember one time trying to get him to eat his lentil soup. And I said, you are not leaving this table until you finish your lentil soup. Do you know we sat at that table for 4 hours? I did not let him leave. It took him 4 hours. By the time he's done with the soup, it's time for the next meal, So I realized that was not going to work. That was not fun. So gamify. A second thing you could do to gamify a task is to have prizes involved, right? Have prizes for the uncomfortable stuff you have to do. I'm looking at Elijah over here has a chart with stars on it. And when he does good when he pays attention and does all his classes for homeschool, he gets a little star on his chart. Every 10 days that he does good, he gets a prize. We give him a prize. You know, we have whatever you have to do to motivate someone to learn. I'm sure there's going to be people who say that's a bad idea, but you know, everyone has to raise their kids the way they think is best. Nicola, thank you for the gift. I appreciate that. You're so kind. Okay, so another thing we did is having prizes involved. So, like I mentioned for the homeschooling, but Timmy had a big aversion to eating, and this is common. I've read that more than 50% of babies who have been intubated, that's, when you're a child and you have to have tube down your throat for feeding, because he was born so early, he didn't know how to suck yet. He did not have he had very severely damaged lung damage. So you don't realize the breaths it takes to have to suck. So he couldn't suck. So he had to be, fed through a tube. And so studies show that 50% of kids who are intubated have trouble eating later in life. So we came up with another game when it came time to eating. And instead of just putting all his food on a plate, we got this choo-choo train, and each car of the train had another piece of food, and the train would come around and he'd have to eat it off one, and then the next train car would come, and then he'd have to eat it off the next train car. And we got to the end of the train, there was a prize. There'd be like a cookie or a piece of candy or Oreo, something. And then he'd realize, oh, when I eat what's in each car, then I get to the end, I get this prize. So I hope this is helpful, because there's dozens of ways to gamify your tasks to make them go from uncomfortable to fun, or at least tolerable enough to complete them. So if you have any ideas of how you could gamify your life, your task, your things that are unpleasant, put them in the chat. I think that will be helpful for other people to see. Now, solution number 3, when it comes to stopping the procrastination and beating it when it comes to uncomfortable tasks, is to challenge your beliefs and your self-talk. Challenge your beliefs and your self-talk. So what do you think that you're capable of tolerating, and what kind of discomfort do you feel like you're facing when it comes to doing this task? And what can you encourage yourself to say? Hey, Roblox Fire Systems, welcome to the live. I don't think I've seen you on here before. What can you challenge yourself to do and encourage yourself to do, even if it's only for a little while? This can be similar to giving yourself a pep talk. You know, sometimes that's helpful when you're running a race and your legs are starting to hurt and you feel like you're getting a side, and you're cramping up, and you hear your friends, go it, do for it, you can do it. Suddenly you get this spark of energy, and you're like, oh, okay. It's not, people are watching. They're encouraging me. Well, sometimes you have to encourage yourself, right? David did this in the Bible. It said he encouraged himself in the Lord. He had nobody else to encourage him. So if you've got nobody else to encourage you, that's okay. You can encourage yourself. So what does this look like for you? Is this giving yourself a pep talk? Even if you're just saying things like, you know what, this probably isn't going to be so bad. This is going to cause great growth for me. Maybe I'm making this out to be worse than it really is. I bet once I get into it, I'll realize it's easier than I thought. It's going to be easier than I'm making it out to be. I am stronger than I think I am. Scripture says I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I just need to take God on as my partner, because the word says, without God, I can do nothing. It's only been hard for me because I've not been enlisting him every step of the way. And you notice these pep talks aren't totally far out, it's going to be super easy, you're going to get it done in no time, because that may not be the truth, right? So sometimes we need a little more realistic of a pep talk. It's not going to be so bad, you're going to feel so much better once you get started. So what's one thing that you can say to yourself that will give you that much needed pep talk to keep you going? Only you know what's going to motivate you. So do that. Do what's going to motivate you. So the fourth solution for beating procrastination when it comes to uncomfortable tasks is to visualize it being complete. Visualize and imagine, how is this going to make me feel when it's finally done, when it's finally off my plate and I don't have that thing hanging over my head anymore. Sometimes that may mean you make a goal poster and you have that in front of you. You have a vision board, you keep it at the forefront of your mind. And not just like what it's going to look like when it's complete, but all the stuff that may come out of it when it's complete, right? So if you're writing a book, don't just have a picture of a finished book, have all the ancillary stuff that may come out of doing it. So that will help you have so much motivation to stick to it and start to do it. Like Nana on here, if you guys don't know, she's got a book called Poems of Peace on Amazon you can get. And she'd been wanting to write a book for a long, long time, but she kept procrastinating on it for whatever reason, not getting to it. Maybe some of the 8 reasons we've discussed on this, or are discussing on these live streams. But when she finally did it, it wasn't just a complete book she got. She got the sense of accomplishment. She got people telling her it really helped them and changed their life. She got people ordering copies for their friends. She got great reviews. So start to think of all the stuff that will come with it. Because when you start to think of all the stuff that may come with it, it's going to help you really feel like doing it more. Because the truth is, like 99% of the time, you only do what you feel like doing. Like if I don't feel like it, I'm not going to do it. So you have to do whatever it takes to get you to actually feel like doing it. So what is that for you? How are you going to feel like doing it? So find a way to get yourself to feel like doing the uncomfortable things. So sometimes what helps me is to focus on the longer term rewards that you'll experience. So if you persevere through this task, what is going to be an outcome? When I finish this book, you start to think, you're visualizing, you're picturing it. This is going to help so many people. I'll be closer to reaching my goal of having written 77 books. I'll be able to have that book on my shelf and see my accomplishments. It's going to be so fun to go do a book signing and get to meet people in person and have them come tell me how my book helped change their life. It's going to make me feel good. It's going to make a difference. It's going to help me leave a legacy for my children and my grandchildren. They're going to get to know me better. Maybe my book will even get the attention of a big talk show host. Maybe I'll be asked to be interviewed on their talk show, and I'm going to get seen on that talk show by so many people. Maybe then I'll start to get asked to go speak at conferences and get paid handsomely for my speaking. And then I'll be able to retire my husband and pay off the house and save for my kids' college funds. We can't say whether or not any of that will happen, but it's sure not going to happen if you don't finish the book. It's sure not going to happen if you don't complete the task, right? So sometimes not only visualizing having it done, visualizing all these other things that could come about if we do the thing, and basking in what that feeling is. What is it going to feel like when I've accomplished it, when I'm on that stage, when I'm taking that bow, when I do that solo, when I make my mark? So just on a side note, I have heard a couple people say in the past that visualization it's not biblical. You shouldn't do that. It's new age. But I disagree with that. And I haven't had time to do a full search in the Bible on people visualizing something coming to pass. But I know Jesus tells us to speak things into existence, right? He says, call those things that be not as though they were. So there's our pep talk. Like, we're saying that this is how it's going to happen. But what I did find, I want to share this scripture with you, because I think it's going to help for if there's any of you that are on here that are like, oh no, I can't visualize something happening, or I can't do a goal poster. I want to share this with you because it might change your mind. So I don't have time to get into like a whole teaching about this because on like visualizing your goals happening, because that would take the whole hour. But I do want to remind you of a story in the Bible where having a goal visualized produced results, or produced the results that this person really wanted. So this is definitely an unconventional story, as many of them are in the Bible. But here we go. In Genesis chapter 30, do you remember when Jacob fell in love with Rachel and he wanted to marry her and he worked 7 years for her, and then Laban tricked Jacob, gave him Leah instead. Then he had to work another 7 years to get Rachel. And after 14 years of working for his father-in-law, Jacob's like, this, I've worked here and I've been diligent, and I've been faithful, and you've changed my wages like 10 times. Like the father-in-law kept messing with him and not giving him what he was due or what he promised him. So Jacob asks, can I just leave? Can I just take my wives and my children back to my homeland? And before he did, Jacob said, there's just one thing that I ask of you. Because he didn't want to go out, without provision, without livestock. So he said, can I just go through your flocks and remove all the speckled, spotted, and striped sheep and the dark colored lambs, every speckled and spotted goat, and they can be my wages? Instead of you paying me, because his father-in-law kept tricking him. Instead of you paying me, which you think, because he's got cheated so many times, he said, I will just separate the sheep that are, and the lambs that are speckled, spotted, striped, and dark, like, because most sheeps are white, right? Most sheeps and lambs are white. So he said, that way, when I leave, you will know that I did not take anything of yours. So this is when it gets into visualization, and this is really cool. So Jacob separated all those sheep that were speckled, spotted, striped, dark, the black ones, and here's where the visualization started. I'm gonna read to you verses 37 through 42. This is really cool. Jacob, however, took fresh cut branches from the poplar, almond, and plane trees, and he made white stripes on them by peeling back the bark and exposing the white inner wood of the branches. Then he placed the peeled branches all in the water troughs so that they would be directly in front of the flock. So the stripes and the multicolor are in front of the flocks when they were in heat and they came to drink. When they mated in front of the branches, goalposter, visualization, speckled, spotted, striped branches. When they mated in front of the branches, they bore young that were striped, streaked, speckled, and spotted. Jacob set apart the young of the flock by themselves, and he made the rest face the dark-colored animals that belonged to Laban. Thus he made separate flocks for himself, and he did not put them with Laban's animals. Whenever the stronger females were in heat, Jacob would place the branches, the visualization of the stripe, the spotted, the speckled, he would place this in front of them so they would mate near the branches. The sheep, the flocks are seeing the stripe, they're seeing that in front of them while they are mating. But if the animals were weak, he did not place them there. So if he saw a weak animal, he's like, I'm not putting them in front of my goal poster, my branches, my striped branches. I'm not going to put them there because I don't want to produce weak animals. So the weak animals, he just kept, they were Laban's anyway. He just kept them with Laban's, and the strong ones went to Jacob. And this man, verse 43, this is Jacob, and in this way, what way? Separating them, putting this visualization in front of them. In this way, the man grew exceedingly prosperous and came to own large flocks of male and female servants and camels and donkeys. What do you think about them apples? That's some visualization. He made sure whenever the animals were mating, they saw the striped, the sprig, and he tore the bark so they could see the multicolored, right? And it would produce. So imagine if even animals can use visualization, imagine how much more we can do it with. We're so infinitely more, capacity with God working through us. So several studies have been done on visualization, and we don't have time to get into them today, but they have shown that those who like practice a sport for a couple hours a day compared to those who visualize doing the sport for a couple hours a day have equal results in their ability to play the games. And some have even shown they score better visualizing it than they do even just practicing. So, like, for example, when you think about it, if someone were to stand at the free throw line and practice throwing the ball in the hoop 2 hours a day, and another person sat in the locker room and visualized throwing the ball, getting it in the hoop a couple of hours a day, you can imagine those who are actually doing it, they're going to see some of them bounce off, some hit the back of the board, bounce, some hit the rim, go out. So they're seeing their failures, and that's also affecting them, as well as they're getting good practicing. But those who are visualizing, typically you're going to visualize getting it in each time. So it's almost like even your confidence is being built up when you have that experience, and even that can help with accuracy. So make whatever kind of visualization you feel like you need to win. I've got a goal poster behind my desk. I've got a let me show you. I've got this like little goal visualization that's in front of me. I forget what you call these, shadow boxes on my desk. On the other side, I have my current, like, this is more of a broad, but the other one I have like specific goals. I have the visualizations for it. So what kind of visualization could help you? What put in the chat what you think you could have in front of you that would help you achieve that goal. Like, just like Jacob put in front of his flocks, the striped branches. What can help you? It may seem far-fetched and outlandish. And when you visualize, like I was talking about, oh, when I get this book done, it could make me get seen and get on the show and get speaking to, it may or may not happen, but if you don't do it, you're never going to know, right? So you don't know what God can do. So I want you to stick with this. And I want to challenge you this week to do some visualization, to do any of these solutions that I gave you on how to stop procrastinating when something is uncomfortable. You're going to feel different. You're going to start to see things differently. And you have to realize that sometimes a little discomfort is a prerequisite for growth, and it's not the enemy, right? Just like you have to stretch and tear a muscle and be sore in order for the muscle to grow back bigger and stronger. Whenever you're not wanting to get started on an uncomfortable task or follow through to the finish line, just visualize how you will feel when you've got that thing accomplished, and what it's going to feel like when you're done, and even visualize all the great things that could come out of it afterwards. So I hope this was helpful to you. Again, we did not finish. I have three other things that we sometimes stop us and make us procrastinate, and we'll have to get to those. Maybe not next week. We'll get to those in a couple of weeks. Next week, I have a surprise. I have a special guest that's going to be on talking about, we're going to interview her, and she's going to be talking about her book, Aggressive Optimism, which is an Amazon bestseller, and how aggressive optimism can help you in your life and help you make things happier. And by the way, if you guys, we've been doing a pretty extensive study on beating procrastination and getting to our goals. If you think it's helpful, I will put together a booklet, a PDF, or something with all, like, we've already done 4 sessions on this, so this is a lot to remember. So maybe I'll put together a booklet, a PDF, a checklist, something Um, if you think that will be helpful, definitely I will check back later, and I will have the link in the notes from all these procrastination series. So until then, I will see you guys next week with my special guest, and you will be able to ask her questions based on the topic as well. So be prepared for that. And live true, love hard, shine bright. We'll see you next week.